Alright everyone, Nick here with What Game Now, and this video is going to be the model profile review. We did have some confusion on the last one. These are not miniature reviews. We're going to talk about the various profiles available to the Jaeger, Black Mamba, Iguana, Spitting Cobra, and King Cobra, all of which are available in the Southern Army box. So let us go ahead and begin with the Jaeger. So the Jaeger is actually a direct copy of the Northern Hunter. So it's quite literally almost component for component, just swapping out for locally available designs. And the reason that the South did this was they needed the Southern Republic needed a machine now. There were attempts to create a home design, and all of those, while not necessarily unsuccessful, wouldn't be ready fast enough. So they just went to the engineers and said, copy the Hunter, put that into production. And in the 1680s, the Jaeger entered production. So because it's ripped off of the Hunter, it's very cheap, rugged, reliable, it's highly modifiable. This thing is ubiquitous, seen everywhere, and has a very storied history. It has spawned dozens of variants, both minor and major. We're only going to cover the actual Jaeger variants here, not the stripped down paratrooper or dart Jaeger machines. And it is worth noting that even though this is an old machine, it has been heavily modified over the years, so it is competitive with more recent designs. So let's go on to the profiles. Since it is a direct copy of the Hunter, it mimics the Hunter in almost every way. So we start off with a threat value of 6 to 8, depending on the variant. All of them are available in general purpose and fire support, and some of them have strike availability. Walker ground movement 6, armor 6, hull structure 4-2, 1 action, gunnery piloting 4+, electronics 6+. This machine does not excel at any one particular area aside from being cheap. Weapon loadout. The baseline machine comes with a light autocannon, light rocket pack, a personnel grenade launcher, a hand grenade, and a vibroblade. This is actually a pretty respectable weapon loadout. You have an anti-infantry option, you have an anti-armor option in the form of the light rocket pack, you have something with good accuracy if you have something that's stacking defensive buffs, and you have a melee weapon. So it's kind of hard to argue with the weapon loadout on the Jaeger. Now the downside is none of these are particularly specialized or anything beyond light variants. So while you are capable of threatening heavy targets, at most you're going to be dealing 1 damage more often than not. The variants, we have the striking Jaeger, which exchanges the light autocannon for a light bazooka and loses the hand grenades. You'll notice that's a trend. The hand grenades tend to disappear on the other variants. This one, not too bad. The bazooka is a little bit short range and it is a little bit on the slower side, but for the same cost as the light autocannon, having that pocket heavy anti-armor option is not bad. The gunner is actually one of my favorite variants. If I have 1 threat value left over, it's a simple swap. You lose your hand grenades and you pick up a medium autocannon instead of a light autocannon, which jumps you from damage 6 to 7, which is pretty significant. The Brawler has a combined light autocannon, light grenade launcher. Now what that means is it has, the slash tells you that it's actually considered 2 weapons in game, but it's physically 1 on the model. So this would be holding a single rifle that has it's essentially a rifle with an underslung grenade launcher. Another variant that I very much like. You keep the light autocannon, but you also pick up the grenade launcher for the anti-armor options. After that, we get to the little more expensive variants. We start with the Blitz Jaeger. Instead of the rocket pack, this has an anti-tank missile with limited ammo. The limited ammo 2 is a little unfortunate because it means you're only ever going to fire 2 shots, and only being gunnery 4+, this thing's accuracy is questionable. However, anti-tank missiles hit like a truck when they do hit, so if you can help stack its accuracy, you're picking on something that has a low piloting skill, it's a pretty good option. The 8 threat value personally makes it a hard sell for me. The Flame Jaeger. The Flame Jaeger swaps out both the autocannon and the rocket pack for a medium flamer, and a light anti-personnel rocket with the Fire 1 trait. This thing likes fire. Fire is very useful, not just against infantry, although this thing does excel at killing infantry. The Flamer I find to be a little bit of a waste because at Walker Ground 6 you're probably not going to get into range that often. On the other hand, the anti-personnel rockets are not bad. The last stock variant we have is the Jaeger Defender, also clocking in at 8 threat value. This is basically a baseline Jaeger. It does not have the hand grenades, but it gains burst 2 and anti-air on its light autocannon. Another variant, oh, and sensors 24, I did forget that. So sensors 24, meh. It's okay. It's not bad. Oh, I forgot. You also do lose your rocket pack. The lead autocannon picks up AA, which means that you get plus 1d6 when you shoot air targets. There is no penalty for shooting ground targets with an anti-air weapon, so that's strictly a bonus. It's also burst 2, which is not quite like having an extra damage, but kind of is. It's better than being plus 1 damage in some situations. Not a variant that I'm particularly a fan of. When we get to the New Cole stuff, we'll talk about the AA variants, because New Cole actually does get a lot of AA variants on their machines. I like those in New Cole. I don't like it here. And then finally we have the command upgrade. It upgrades your electronic warfare skill to 5+. You're still not an electronic warfare machine, don't try. But you pick up comms so you can issue orders to your own squad. The Jaeger is not meant to be a command machine for large-scale commanders or electronic warfare. You can use it for a squad commander, no problem. The big brother to the Jaeger is the Black Mamba. The Black Mamba was introduced in 1911. Keep in mind that these years are Terra Nova years, so that's 1,911 cycles after discovery. And it's worth noting that a lot of machines in the South aren't evenly distributed because of things like nepotism. The Southern Militia main military force tends to be the underfunded one. The Black Mamba tends to show up in the SRA quite a bit. You will see it in the Humanists, you will see it in the Mekong Dominion, but it's predominantly focused in the SRA. It was originally commissioned to surpass the recently introduced Northern Jaguar, and for the most part it does that. It's very similar in performance, but has better survivability. The reception from the pilots is that it's generally been very well received, and it's worth noting that some earlier variants did have an issue with lack of armor on the back, although this has been addressed recently and is in line for the second war against the CEF. The Mamba has been so successful as a design that it's actually spawned a number of sub-variants like the Snake Eye and the Green Mamba that we'll talk about in their own videos. On to the profiles. So the Black Mamba starts off at 11 threat value, which is not cheap, but on par with a gear of its type. Strike, fire support, recon, and paratroopers pretty well par for the course. Movement 7, armor 7, hull structure 4-2. Right there is a big difference. When you compare it to a lot of other equivalent gears, like a Cuirassier or a Jaguar, actually I'm going to take that back, the Cuirassier is not this, but the Jaguar in particular. The Jaguar is only hull structure 3-3. So the Jaguar is easier to cripple than a Black Mamba is. But the Black Mamba still has one action, gunnery 3-up, piloting 3-up, and electronic warfare of 5. It is worth noting that because you're electronic warfare 5+, while you can engage in electronic warfare, it's not always the best, but you can get it up there, particularly if you stack some EW support options. Or some EW assist actions, I'm sorry. Traits-wise, arms, okay. That means it can climb, sorry. Agile is a big deal for survivability on a machine that's already pretty decently durable at armor 7 and 4-2. And it is airdroppable, so you can airdrop groups of Mambas. Weapon loadout, light vibroblade, light anti-personnel grenade launcher, a light rocket pack, and a medium autocannon. Keep in mind the light rocket pack, that's not necessarily normal for a gear of this size. So light rocket pack, decent against high armor targets. It means you're only going to ever deal 1 damage, but you're going to be able to deal 1 damage. Medium autocannon is a strict upgrade from the Jaeger. The loss of the hand grenades isn't a big deal. Baseline Mamba variant, it's really not that bad. Especially with gunnery 3+, that burst on the medium autocannon becomes much more powerful. The Strike Mamba is actually cheaper and swaps its medium autocannon for a light bazooka. I'm a little indifferent on this variant. The light bazooka doesn't quite hit hard enough for the point cost, although at Walker Ground 7 you're more likely to use it than you are with, say, a striking Jaeger. The Brawler Mamba has a medium grenade launcher. Personally, one of my preferred variants, although the anti-personnel rockets are a little bit unfortunate. The nice thing about this is you have the anti-light armor, you have the anti-heavy armor option. It's a little short-ranged, but it is indirect. Long Fang Black Mamba, medium autocannon, linked medium rocket pack. This is kind of a big deal. I like the Long Fang a fair bit. The medium rocket packs is a significant upgrade. This is my preferred go-to. You have a point, upgrade the Mamba to a Long Fang. The Blazing Mamba has a medium rotary laser instead of its medium autocannon. With gunnery 3+, this is actually a very respectable weapon with advanced and the burst trait. Very accurate, hits reasonably hard. Another variant I quite like. The 2 higher threat value means you have to kind of plan to have a blazing in your group, whereas the Long Fang is just kind of a throw it in there and you got it. And then finally we have the Blitz, which is like the Blitz Jaeger, has a light anti-tank missile. See my comments on the Blitz. Although in this case you're more accurate, so it's a little more useful with its limited ammo too, but it's still limited ammo too. The Razor Fang Mamba upgrade ups it to EW4+, which is actually quite respectable, and gives it a SAT up. Keep in mind that a SAT up still essentially gives you the effect of comms, but SAT up ups your E-War skill by 1 for unopposed rolls. So if you're doing an unopposed forward observation, this thing's electronic warfare is 3+, which is pretty good. Alright, next up we actually have the devoted electronic warfare gear, the Iguana. Currently used by the South as a recon and electronic warfare gear. It's got good speed and armor. You actually see a duelist variant in the Rapier Iguana we'll get to in a moment. Introduced in 1879, and it's pretty well universal. It's actually introduced alongside the Spitting Cobra we'll get to in a moment. And it's been so successful that it's got a lot of highly specialized variants. I apologize for the table you're about to see. Alright, so the baseline Iguana. Pretty much all this stuff's available in recon and fire support. They cost, starting at 9, they have spike up to 12 threat value, so on par with, although slightly cheaper than a Mamba. Walker ground movement of 8 is quite good. This is a very fast gear. Armor 5 means that some incidental hits aren't going to necessarily kill it, but hull structure 3-3 means that you don't want to get hit. You are reasonably durable against light weapons, but if you get tagged by anything decent, you're probably going to get crippled. One action, gunnery 4+, not bad, although this is not a combat platform. Piloting 3+, respectable. Electronic warfare 3+. This is a pretty big deal. This is your devoted electronic warfare machine out of the Southern Army box. Comes with a pat gun, which is essentially a gear submachine gun, short range, high burst. A light rocket pack, which is cute. Actually makes it a reasonably respectable combat platform against heavy armor. And a vibroblade. Traits-wise, it has arms, okay, agile, so less likely to get hit, comms and ECM, so this thing, you don't need to, there is no command variant to the Iguana because pretty much all of them have comms. ECM, so you can shut down your opponent. Sensors 24, so you're able to go a little bit further, and it comes baseline with a target designator. This is an electronic warfare machine. That is its job. It is not necessarily a combat platform, although with its light rocket pack, it does have some interesting options. Variants. The gunner variant swaps the pat gun for a light autocannon. Now, there isn't a change in the traits. This is kind of important. It's a no-cost upgrade in air quotes. The light autocannon is a little bit more universally better, but because of the lack of burst means it's not going to hit quite as often as the pat gun is. I like the gunner myself, that's just me. The hunting has a light rifle instead and ups its sensors to 36 at the cost of the target designator. This is a sniper. Okay, this is a long-range electronic warfare machine, and it has a rifle so it can actually do stuff. The rifle's kind of interesting because I kind of feel like it tries to make you make bad decisions. The rifle encourages you, like, hey, you have a gun you can shoot, but you have a longer range and you're more likely to be able to actually use things like forward observation. I don't mind the hunting so long as you understand that it's an electronic warfare machine first. Although at 9 threat value, if you need to use it as a trooper, it's not the end of the world. The striking is a bazooka. I don't mind this variant. Oh, by the way, the striking does not have the expanded sensors trait. This is more of a, it tends to tag along with, say, a strike group or something, and also messes with your opponent while you're there. This is not so much a devoted electronic warfare platform as it is a light trooper that happens to have an electronic warfare capability. The Chatterbox. The Chatterbox is the version where we start seeing a satellite uplink. It loses its rocket pack, but it's picking up a sat up, so that sweet, sweet 2+ electronic warfare skill on unopposed rolls is so good. Good forward observation machine. Sensors 24 is respectable. I'd like if it was 36, but that'd probably be too powerful. Strong variant, if you're going for the pure electronic warfare, this is my preferred variant. I don't mind the baseline Iguana, dump the rocket pack, just skip every pretense you're doing anything else. So this is the EW machine. The black box is a command variant, which I think is kind of funny because this is already a very strong command machine. Light autocannon like Panzerfaust is interesting. It has one extra skill point. Okay. ECM plus, which means it starts passively with the ECM defense up in play. So it's almost like it has plus 1d6 defense. And an ECCM. This thing is a noticeable step up from the Chatterbox. The only downside is it's a command machine, which means it has to be the commander. It's weird. I like the Chatterbox instead. Although if you really want an electronic warfare commander, the black box Iguana is probably where you're going to want to go with that. The lidded Iguana, keep going on our way down there. So this is somewhere between a Chatterbox and a baseline Iguana. You have a light autocannon, you have a target designator, you have ECM plus, very good. No sat up, but you have stealth and veteran. This is kind of a stealth machine, is the best way to think about it. It's designed to go in with special forces units, the occasional recon element. ECM plus is good to help keep your defense up. Stealth is really good because it makes it harder to deal with, and it's veteran, so it starts the game with a skill point. And then finally we get to the Rapier Iguana, which is a very strange one. It's a veteran with field armor, and it's 4-2 instead, so it's noticeably more durable than a baseline Iguana. But it's designed as a duelist machine. It has a light vibroblade with reach 1 and brawler. This is actually not a terrible close combat machine, even though you would look at it and go, why? The reason why is because it's piloting 3+, it's movement 8, so those are both very good. Field armor and hull structure 4-2 means that it's actually kind of hard to cripple in one shot. You essentially have to deal 10 damage to it in one go to cripple it, because it would take it would take 5. You need to deal 9 damage to it, because it'll take 4. And then field armor drops it to 3. Which means that a lot of weapons aren't going to one-shot it unless you send something really big into it. Now the downside is you lose all your electronic warfare capability. So while this is I've actually seen this used. There's a very good argument that this might be one of the better duelist machines in the game. Especially if you give it some help. If you give it, say, the shield trait and upgrade its melee weapon, this actually becomes kind of scary. Alright, the big brother to the Iguana, we have the Cobra. Specifically, it's called the Spitting Cobra. It was developed in the 1880s as a series with the Sidewinder and Iguana. It went head-to-head with the competition, which was a combination of the Boa, the Python, and the Anaconda. So there were two lines of machines. The South ended to go with the Spitting Cobra Iguana Sidewinder line, and then the Boa Python Anaconda kind of went off to the side. It's a very expensive, heavy machine, but the pilots love this thing. It shows up pretty much everywhere in the South. It's used as a fire support unit, but it also has excellent anti-air, anti-infantry, and engineering variants. This is your heavy fire support akin to the Grizzly. Variants, and there are a few of these. So let's start at the beginning. All of these are strike and fire support. There is no variance in UAs. They are all movement 5, armor 8, hull structure 4-2, 1 action, gunnery 4 up, piloting 5 up, EW 6 up, with arms and react plus. Okay. Sorry, just a second. Alright. Now, going through that real fast. Walker ground movement 5 means you can get places, but you're not especially fast. Hull structure 4-2 with armor 8 means that you are a very resilient combat platform. Gunnery 4 up, piloting 5 up, you're a baseline respectable machine. There's nothing of note here. The piloting is a little unfortunate. Arms, okay. The important thing on traits is React Plus. React Plus lets you get a free reaction per turn, given that this is a fire support gear that's pretty well needed. Basically means that you can react with artillery fire, indirect fire, to like a forward observation without any issues, or do that in addition to your normal actions. Weapon loadout. So it starts with a heavy autocannon, which is much like we talked about the autocannon. Good. It has burst, which is really good. Hits reasonably hard. It's good against defense stacking opponents, and it's its highest baseline damage weapon. The medium rocket pack. It's only got a single one, unlike the Grizzly. Good against if you need like to crack something that's armor 11 or 12. Medium artillery rockets and your light guided mortar are your two choices. The artillery rockets are area saturation, the guided mortar is a little more accurate. And then it comes with a machine gun and a vibro blade. Your variants, you have a striking, which swaps the heavy auto cannon for a bazooka, and importantly drops all the secondary weapons. I am not a fan of this variant. Let me explain why. Walker Ground Movement 5 is very unfortunate for the short-range bazooka. It's only a medium bazooka, and because you do not have any long-range support weapons, the React Plus is kind of wasted. Because you really want the bazooka to be buffed by orders. So you kind of want to shoot with it during your turn, but at the same time that means you can't react with the rocket, which means you can't use React Plus. It's a really strange machine that doesn't quite gel very well for me. The Jungle Mower is a 1-point upgrade that swaps the heavy autocannon for a heavy rotary cannon. This is personally my favorite variant of the Cobra. The rotary cannon, a heavy rotary cannon nonetheless, is a very powerful weapon with the extra burst and at gunnery 4+. I love this thing. The Support Cobra, anytime you hear Support Cobra, what they've done is they've swapped both of the weapons, the artillery rockets and the guided mortar, for a field gun. While I think this model looks incredibly cool, the field gun is kind of sad right now because of the baseline indirect rules. It has some accuracy problems and it hits reasonably hard when it gets there. The Jungle Mower Support Cobra is in the same vein as the Jungle Mower Cobra, but has the light field gun of the Support Cobra. Again, I like the look of the field gun. Right now, this isn't necessarily my preferred variant. I like Jungle Mowers myself. The Artillery Cobra. So the Artillery Cobra, keep in mind this is unreleased, upgrades its guided mortar and artillery rockets to a field mortar. It's unguided, very respectable vehicle. Haven't had a chance to play with it, so I don't have much commentary on this front. A Slashing Cobra. This is a very interesting one that I actually quite like a fair bit. Heavy autocannon, good. Medium anti-tank missiles, hello sweetheart. This is going to punch holes in tanks. And it still has a guided mortar for that React Plus. I like this machine. This is my 1-point go-to upgrade for a baseline spitting Cobra. The Flame Cobra, 15 threat value because we have to push the limit on that. Heavy flamer, anti-personnel rockets, artillery rockets, and a guided mortar, they all cause fire. Fire good. Okay. Heavy flamer on Walker Ground Movement 5 model, not so good. It's one of those things that's kind of got a similar problem to the striking where at least this thing has the indirect backup for it. Not my favorite variant because of its speed. And then your command upgrade is the Razor Fang. Actually gives it sat up, which is pretty nice, even though it's not really devoted to electronic warfare machine. I don't usually find that this thing needs sat up. I think comms would be fine, but you know, hey, if you got it, sweet. Still not going to make you a really good command machine. It's perfectly fine at a squad level, but anything bigger than that, I wouldn't do it. All right, last up, we have the King Cobra. This is actually originally a heavily modified spitting Cobra, although it is considered its own thing now. It did start life as a spitting Cobra. It was spawned during the War of the Alliance when the South realized it was having a lot of problems fighting CEF hover tanks. So this was designed as an answer to essentially go head-to-head with these hover tanks. It's got a lot of weapons. It's got a lot of variety on those weapons, which is both an advantage and a disadvantage. It's being pulled in a lot of directions and specializes at no one particular area. In universe, the people question its battlefield effectiveness because of that, but it looks really cool and is a propaganda machine. Alright, so in the game, there's only 3 variants, which is very nice. It starts at 19 threat value. All of the variants are 19 threat value. He's very expensive. Strike and fire support UAs, perfectly fine. Walker Ground 5, so a little bit on the slow side, but Armor 9, Hull Structure 4-2. This thing is more durable than a regular Cobra for the same speed. Armor 9 is kind of a big deal in Heavy Gear Blitz because of how the dice work out. Being Armor 9 is a noticeable upgrade. You'll notice it's a cutoff for a lot of rules. It comes baseline with 2 actions, which is a distinct upgrade from the Cobra's React Plus. Having 2 actions means you can shoot 2 things during your regular turn and you have more options. Gunnery 3 up, again, noticeable upgrade from the Cobra. Piloting 5+ Electronic Warfare 6+. There is no command variant and there is no electronic warfare based traits, so this is not an electronic warfare machine. This is the thing you're going to be sending orders to. Traits, all of these have the arms trait, so they can climb and do those things. Brawler 1, which is actually not bad because they all come with a medium vibroblade. And all King Cobras are by definition veterans, so start the game with a skill point and have access to the veteran upgrades. Alright, let's talk about the variants here. So all of them share a medium rocket pack, a light artillery rocket, a light guided mortar, a heavy machine gun, an anti-personnel grenade launcher, and a vibroblade. So let's go through those real fast. The vibroblade means you have a combat weapon. At piloting 5+, although it is Brawler 1, piloting 5+, this isn't the greatest close combat machine out there. Rolling more dice is better. Piloting 4+ means that you're a little bit less confident in that roll. Heavy machine gun, you have the option to deal with particularly very lightly armored targets, be they vehicles or infantry, and the anti-personnel grenade launcher means you can clear out clumped up infantry very close to you quickly. The guided mortar means this thing does have indirect fire capabilities, and because it's guided at gunnery 3+, it's a very accurate platform for it. The artillery rockets are your area saturation weapon. Notice that if you look back to our Kodiak video, the Kodiak didn't have any of this. Well, didn't have much of this. This is that being pulled in multiple directions now, because in addition to this, we have a medium rocket pack. Okay, decent against armor because it's armor piercing, but okay. And then you get to the main guns. First off is a medium particle accelerator. Particle accelerators I quite like. They have the haywire trait, so they can fry your opponent's electronics very easily. A heavy rotary cannon, perfectly respectable weapon, and a medium laser cannon. The laser cannon is personally my favorite because it is both advanced and precise. Within optimal range, it's effectively +2 to hit, which is kind of a big deal. So going through different variants, the rotary cannon has the highest damage potential because it's rolling more dice. It's more likely to roll a 6. And with gunnery 3+, it's more likely that 2 or 3 of those other dice are going to come up and add to your result. The laser cannon is more consistent though because it has just a flat +2. And then the particle accelerator tends to mess with your opponents a little more. Of the variants, I have no particular preference. There's advantages and disadvantages to all of them. So my commentary on that is pick whichever one you like. So guys, that takes us through this video where we talk about the Southern Army box. Next up, we are going to do Peace River.
Hey, this is Dave. If you like what we're doing here at What Game Now, go ahead and click on one of the videos which should be on either side of me, or click right in the middle and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell once you subscribe so that you know when we have new videos. Please go ahead and share us with your friends. Let everybody know that we're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all of our subscribers already. And we look forward to bringing you more content every chance that we get.